In this video, I'm going to give away my entire sales process to you guys completely for free, $0. People pay me thousands of dollars to learn stuff like this, but today I'm feeling good. I'm going to give it all away to you guys for free. My name is Jay Taylor, and in April, I collected $32,000 in commissions. I currently manage a sales team of 5 people that did $10 million in 2024, and we're on our way to do $20 million. I train tons of reps just like you how to learn stuff like this. So if you're struggling with pre-handling objections, if you don't even maybe know what that is, objection handling, if you're struggling with discovery and digging deeper into the prospect and their pain, this video is going to show you all of that right now. So let's go. I know you're here to probably make some more money, not hear me rant for a while, so let's go. Now, my disclaimer here is that this works really well for remote offers. If you are on an offer that is not remote, please still watch this video because there's plenty of gems that you can get here. But if you're currently on a remote sales offer, that means taking calls over Zoom, Google Meet of some sort, this will be very helpful because this is the exact word track that you can use, and it's not just a word track or a script. This is going to teach you where to go when the conversation goes places that you normally don't expect it to. So we start off with the prospect. If we're on Zoom, it's like, hey, can you hear me? Obviously, in person, we wouldn't ask somebody that because that'd be pretty weird. Hey, can you hear me? So they'll be like, yes, I can. Then it's like, all right. So to get right into it, what made you book in a call? So, disclaimer here. What I have learned in my own journey is that a lot of people getting on these calls with you guys are going to be nervous, shaky, all types of stuff. So, if you notice someone is nervous, you can definitely disarm them with a little bit of humor here and be like, oh man, I see you came in with the surfer hair. Nice look, bro. Get them laughing a little bit. That was a corny joke, but you get the point. Throw a little joke in there, especially maybe you're on a call with a female. She might be a little timid. You're, a grown man. You want to disarm them a little bit with a little humor. Now, another side note is don't get into making some crazy jokes and ha 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 and laughing with them. What state are you in? I love that state. I used to go to the beaches, bro. Don't take what I just said with a grain of salt. Don't become some comedian on the call because you're going to immediately start to lose control and you're doing just what everyone else does, and that's the opposite of what I teach. So they're either going to give you two answers. Let's say they try to say like, well, I don't really know. Let's say they give you like, a shot answer. It's like, I don't know. Okay. So, well, when people usually come to us, they are looking for outcome, or outcome. So for you, which is it? Or maybe it's all three. For example, let's say you have a make money offer, like a biz op offer. And it's like, okay, so when people usually come to us, they're either trying to get out of their 9 to 5, they're trying to make some income on the side, or they just simply just want to make more money overall. Which one would it be for you? Or maybe all three. So you're going to lead them into the answer, not that you want, but a proper answer that we can actually do something with. A tangible answer here. So it's like, oh, I just want to make some more money, Jay. Okay. And, to be a little bit more specific with our goals, like how much money would you be looking to make in, let's say, monthly income? Oh, Jay, I'd like to make 10K a month. Okay, pause. Now let's say they said, oh, I just want to get out of the 9 to 5. So let's see how the question would tweak a little bit if they say, hey, I just want to get out of the 9 to 5. So if they say, I just want to get out of the 9 to 5, it's like, all right. So, how much money would you need to make in monthly income to be able to pull you out of that 9 to 5? Oh, I would need to make 8K a month to do so. Okay, 8K, that's definitely very attainable. And how much are they paying you now at the current job you're in? So that's where we would go here. And where are you at now? So this can be plugged in for different offers in different industries. Let's say this is a weight loss fitness offer, and someone hits us with the I don't know answer. Okay, so yeah, when people usually come to us, they're either looking to like just really build their self-confidence. Maybe they're doing it for the girls, or they overall just want to feel healthy and feel better. Like, which one is it for you? Or maybe it's all three. Oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I want to just feel better. Okay, and like, how much weight would you say you need to lose so you can actually feel better and, reach your goal? Oh, I need to lose like 50 pounds. And what would that bring you down to? Oh, that would bring me down to 150. Okay, so you're at about 200. We need to get down to 150. So we're building the gap. We're building the gap for the prospect. We're not just doing this for us. We want them to start to have some urgency about their situation and realize that gap that they're currently up against. So I do want to go back up and, just highlight something out here. So we can get right into the what made you book a call. Now, this is no frame. So now, if you're not that advanced and you don't have that kind of luxury to use no frame, then I would use a frame. And the frame that I would use would be like, all right, man, so the beginning of this calls are pretty basic. I just want to get a better idea and understanding of where you're at and where you're trying to go, because we've helped a lot of people, but I hope you can understand that we can't help everyone. And towards the end of the call, if I feel like I'm able to help you, then I'll just show you what that would look like. Just very calm, not pushy, not aggressive, not, oh, if I feel like I'm able to help you, then I'll just dive on top of you, put a pen in your hand and make you sign, like this kind of stuff that's going to build a lot of sales resistance. We're just very calm, very chill. That's the frame I would use. Either way, using any kind of frame is always going to be more salesy than no frame. So I use no frame on most of my calls. Okay, so now we said they can either go into I don't know, which is the BS answer over here, or X outcome. I'm looking to get this kind of outcome. So if they go into I'm looking to get this kind of outcome, then we take them down the same path. Only thing that we remove is the, oh, well, when people come to us, they're looking for this, this, and this. Which would it be for you? No, we just get straight into it. Like, all right. And just to be a little bit more specific with our goals, how much, monthly income are you actually looking to make off of getting into, Amazon FBA? Oh, I'm looking to make 8K. Okay. And like relative to where you're at now, what's the gap? And they're going to insert their current state. So why did I put current state here? It's not their current amount in their wallet or current amount that they're making. It depends on what you're selling. So plug in whatever you're selling. They're going to tell you where they're currently at, and we already found out where they wanted to go. So then usually we can repeat back to them. Now be careful with this, because I have taught certain students and then they repeat it back to me like, okay, so you're at 5, you're looking to go to 7. Like, don't make it corny and played out, and definitely don't make it sound like you knew you were already going to say that. Definitely avoid that in anything that I'm teaching you or anything that you do decide to use in your sales process. Listen to how I talk. It's very much like, all right, so you're at 5, you're looking to get to 7, and like, what have you been trying or looking into to really, make 7K a month a reality for you? It didn't sound like I just pulled that off of a napkin. It was very much like I almost sounded a little bit confused, but I'm doing that on purpose. So I'm playing around with my tonality, and that's really important, because I could teach you guys the things to say, but if your tonality isn't right, then it all doesn't matter. And it's like, okay, yeah, I've been doing, X, Y, and Z, and I tried X, Y, and Z method, or they're just going to tell us, like nothing, consuming a bunch of free resources. So let's say that they say they're doing nothing, and they're consuming free resources. So then we're like, all right, so like, and how long you been doing it that way? Oh, I've been, not really doing much for the last year. Oh, a year. So I'm literally going to do that with my face. I'm literally going to go, oh, a whole year. I'm going to give them a surprised look. See how, my tonality change and my body language changes as the context changes. So I don't just walk around with the confused tonality and body language through the whole call. I'm going to sound like an idiot. A year? Like, no. It's like, oh, a year. Just like surprise. Like, oh, okay. So, I mean, it's been a whole year, John. Like, what would you say has stopped you from taking any action? Now, let me spice that up with a little bit of tonality and show you exactly how we would say that. So, okay, John, so it's been a year, and like, I guess, what would you say has stopped you from taking any action? So, why do I say it like that? Not only am I coming off, curious and, confused, a little bit worried, but I'm also like, being very careful with my words, because if I say this like, all right, John, so it's been a year, what would you say has stopped you from taking any action? Whoa, that's going to come off like very aggressive and judgmental, and might close the prospect off and do the opposite of what I'm actually trying to do here. I'm actually trying to get them to open up. So they're not going to open up to me if I'm like, well, why didn't you do anything over the last year? So it's like, all right, John, so it's been a year now. I guess, like, what would you say has maybe stopped you from taking any action? All right, boom. They're going to insert their little excuse here. Okay, so can I give you some perspective on that? Or you don't have to say it exactly like I do. You don't have to say, hey, can I give you some perspective on that? You say, hey, can I make a small suggestion? Or maybe can I challenge you on that? And they're going to say, yeah, sure. And then we go into reframing their belief. So, an example, let's say the excuse was, oh, I just don't have enough time, etc., etc., etc. Then it's like, all right, can I give you some perspective on that? And they're like, yeah, sure. And it's like, okay, so like pretty much, me, you, and Elon Musk, we all have the same amount of hours in a day. So what would you say has you not really making this a priority for yourself and not putting in the time to really be able to get to that 7,000 a month that you told me that you're looking to get to so you can get out of your 9 to 5? So what I also do when I'm reframing or, I'm trying to get them to build urgency or, build up their resourcefulness so they can go get the funds to do this is I'm going to attach that outcome in there. So it makes a big difference if I'm like, hey, do you think like you're able to, get resourceful so you can get the funds to buy my program? That's going to come off like me, like how can you get this to, do what I'm trying to get you to do? As opposed to if I frame it like, hey, like, do you think like maybe you're able to get resourceful so you can get the funds to get that help that you need so you can get to 7K and go to the Bahamas, take care of your family, do all the things you're looking to tell me to do. Now when I tie in that outcome, it makes a big difference here. So I'm going to tie in the outcome and they'll be like, oh, well, I just feel like this and this is coming up. And then, I don't know what the exact word track is going to be because we'd have to be on a real call for that. But it's like, okay, do you feel like it makes sense to keep letting this and this get in the way as opposed to like really dedicating and prioritizing our time so we can get where we want to go? Because I know you mentioned that you're not so happy staying right here. So like, why stay here, man? And they're like, no, you're completely right, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, I could be wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. Like, why so? Like, why do you feel like I'm right? Why do I do that? Because the prospect can easily just be yesing me to death, and I want to avoid that by all means. So I want to avoid the prospect yesing me to death and make it their own idea. Why? Because I'm a salesman, and they're going to believe 0% of what I say, but 100% of anything that is their own idea. So where I go after that is I'm going to skip all of this here if they were actually doing something. I'm going to go to, all right, so, I'd assume that you don't want to keep living like that. And that's why we're on a call right now. So I guess in your own words, what do you feel like you need to do right now to get out of that spot that you're in? So, but we're not going to go there yet because I'm going to show you the other route. So that's if they said that they're doing nothing right now. And if they said that they're doing something, like, oh, I joined a XYZ program, then it's like, okay, and how long have you been doing it that way? So, same question. Oh, I've been in the program for 4 months. All right, and how's that been going? Oh, let's say they go into some spiel on how bad it is, right? We don't want to be those salespeople that we feed off of that, like, oh, it's been bad? That's terrible. That's exactly why we hired John right here, because he just takes care of that, and he does everything that you said they're not doing, and we could do that, and where do you want to sign? Like, that's super salesy, and that's just going to push people away. So what we want to do is get them to focus on the positive. So like, all right, like, well, to focus on the positive first, like, what do you like about it? Because you're still in the program, you're still paying them. Like, I'm sure there's some things you like, you don't like. It's like, oh, I like X, Y, and Z about it. It provides X, Y, and Z for me. Okay. So then we go into, all right, it sounds good now, but if you had to think about it, like what do you may feel that you would change about what you're currently doing? Or, another way that you guys can frame this question is like, what would your ideal criteria be in a program, like this to actually get you to 10K a month and get you the results that you need? So what we're going to do is when they insert whatever they don't like or whatever they feel like they actually need, we don't just jump up and say, oh, we do that, because that's going to seem like scammy, like a scam. Like we just do whatever that they need. But especially on the spot like that. But when we actually go and do our presentation, I'm going to show you guys how we plug in these things that they said they need specifically to their individual situation very smoothly in our pitch towards the end of the call. So they're going to insert their dislike here. And then we pretty much say, all right, so pretty much having, XYZ support or solution is important to you? Yes, it is. And just so I'm clear, is that the reason that you're reaching out for, some more outside help? Yes, it is. Or let's say they say no. If they say no, then it's like, all right, so, what has you reaching out for some more help? And then they're going to insert their actual problem. Some people you're going to find them, depending on the personality type, you're going to find them going this way on the call a lot, where it's like a lot of I don't know, and it's a lot of like difficult answers, and that's where you have to come in as the rep and be the leader to be like, all right, man, well, if you had to guess, or if you had to think about it, don't just sit there dumbfounded with the prospect and be like, I don't know either, because that's not going to generate us any results. So, is that the reason that you're reaching out for more outside help? Let's say that they go this way, and they're like, yes, okay. And how's that been affecting you? Oh, it's been affecting me because, XYZ, and here they're going to expand and expand. And this is where we can ask, little probing questions to go deeper on the problem. So after that, and I'm not going to put the word track here, you can watch my live calls if you want to see me do stuff like that. This is just the overall structure and framework for you guys. So I'd assume, now we're back at that part. I'd assume that you don't want to keep living like that. And that's why we're on a call right now. So I guess in your own words, what do you feel like you need to do now to get out of that spot that you're in? Let's say that they go this way again. So if they go this way again and they're like, oh, I don't really know. And we're like, all right, well, if you had to think about it, man. Then they go back to here where they tell us what they actually need to do. So it's like, yeah, I need to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, and why now? So why now is a really good question that once upon a time I wasn't asking on my calls, and this builds a lot of urgency. Like, why now? Sure, Jay, everything that you're saying can make sense to me, and I know I need to solve this, but by me asking the prospect why now, it's like, why do it now as opposed to do what we've been doing where we've been comfortable and satisfied here, apparently. Like, why now? And then they're going to insert some kind of urgency here. So it's like, all right, so obviously making, XYZ amount or obtaining XYZ, plug in your industry, plug in what you sell, is just doing it. Like, what would that do for you personally? There's a bunch of ways that you can ask this question, but this is the way that I usually like to ask it. So let's say they try to give you, let's say they go this way. Let's say they go this way. And they try to say, oh, it would be nice. Yeah, it would be all right. It'd be nice. So a lot of A types are going to do that. And like a way that we can easily check them is like, all right, man, like, yeah, like, I mean, going for a walk in the park would be nice, but like, what would it actually change for you that you're unable to do right now? And if they try to, once again, if they try to give you like these little nonchalant answers, like it's not that serious, then it's like, yeah, I mean, like, if you had to think about it, because, I'm sure it might just change like a little bit more for you than, taking the kids to the park and doing this and that. Now, we don't want to sound like an a-hole when we do that, but at the same time, common sense is going to tell us if they had this all figured out, they probably wouldn't be on a call with you right now. So let's say they go this way, the easier way, or like the more logical way. Okay, it would do this, that, and this. It would insert reasons for them. All right. And remember, this part here, so like, based on everything I teach, we don't want to let the prospect, talk over us and ramble. And we want to keep that control on the call and know how to interject and keep control and direction. Here is where we actually want to let them ramble a little bit. So it's not a problem here if they ramble, because usually what's going to happen is it's going to be, not off topic. It's going to be going deeper and deeper to how they actually feel, and we're just driving more urgency. And a problem that I used to have, and something that I used to do wrong, is consistently cutting the prospect off in this part of the call, and this is not the part of the call that you want to cut them off in. And you want to constantly keep clarifying, asking clarifying questions, probing questions, and going deeper and deeper on the problem. So it's like, yeah, I'll give you guys an example. Yeah, like, I would actually just be happy. It's like, oh, okay. So you said you'd be happy. I mean, are you saying like you're not so happy right now? Granted. Now that's if they haven't already told me that. If they've already told me that, I'm not going to ask that and become redundant. But that's a quick win right there. Yeah, they're not happy right now. We're driving urgency. So then, after we find out what it would actually do for them, maybe it's going to take them to the Bahamas. Maybe they're going to buy their girl this new watch they always wanted. Maybe it gets them out their 9 to 5. Then it's like, all right, like that's what it would actually do for you. But like, what would it actually mean to you if you were able to achieve this? I used to ask here a lot, like, how would it make you feel? But with certain prospects, that doesn't land the right way. So I would always suggest here saying, like, what would that mean to you? Now, this is going to change prospect to prospect, but it's always going to be something very similar to this. It's like, oh, it would mean the world to me, and it would make me feel like this, this, and this. I mean, yeah, man, that's awesome. And I guess that's like the top of the mountain, right? If we do it, if we achieve it, and we live that. But right now, we're kind of at the bottom, like looking up, because we haven't done any of that. And let's say, we don't do anything to get out of our current situation, and you continue where you're at for the next 3, 6, 12 months. Like, what does life look like then? So, what did I do? I call it sweeping out the rug. So, I'm pretty sure I just coined that. Not saying I coined this structure here, but I coined that little pull out the rug thing, because it's kind of like we brought them all the way up, literally to the top of the mountain, and then we brought them right back to reality. It's like, yeah, man, that's cool and all, but we haven't done any of that. So, like, let's say we don't, do anything to solve this problem, and we stay right where we're at for the next 3, 6, 12 months. Like, what does life look like then? Now, if you're going to copy this word for word, be careful to not say, like, for the next 3, 6, 12 months, the next 1, 2 years. Like, don't sound scripted. If you hear the way that I say it, it's very much like, yeah, for the next 3, 6, 12 months. It's almost like I'm fumbling to figure out the structure in my head or know what I'm going to say next, as opposed to sounding very scripted, which I've heard people get on calls and they're like, yeah, what are like the main bottlenecks in the business currently that are stopping you from reaching there? And it's like, oh gosh, pull out some more napkin questions, buddy. And then they'll say, oh, let's say they try to go this way again, our favorite way. Oh, I'd be fine because, yeah, well, that makes perfect sense because it sounds like you're resilient and so am I. But like, how much of X would you be missing out on? Matter of fact, let's do the math. So you said, and like in a money offer, you could do it exactly like this. All right, so you said that, you're at 3K a month right now. You're looking to get 10. So I'd say like it's fair to say we're losing out on about 7,000 a month, right? Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so like, sheesh, man. In 6 months, we're losing $42,000, and in 12 months, in a year, we're losing $84,000 by not figuring this out. And they're like, yeah, that's a lot of cash I'm missing out on. Now, this is if it's a make money offer. There's definitely a plug in your industry. There's a bunch of other ways that you can do this for what you sell. So the prospect will say themselves, I've heard it many times, where it's like, yeah, that's a ton of cash I'm losing out on. And we're like, okay, so then we go here. Then we go here, and it's like, all right, so like, how would that feel having not accomplished what we were looking to accomplish and being stuck where we're at right now? And let's say they say, okay, pretty bad because XYZ, insert reason, insert reason. Then here is where we get them to commit to take action. So I'm going to draw a little line right here, because if you do not get them past this line right here, do not move forward in the call, because that means you have not driven enough urgency to actually pitch them. So how we get them to take action is like, all right, for sure. So would you say, like, starting today, you're ready to draw a line in the sand and commit to being the best version of yourself, the one that solves this problem, the one that takes action and holds themselves accountable to their goal? And they're like, yeah, for sure. Okay, why so? Why do we do the why so's? Why? Why do we do the why so's? Because we need to make sure that we're getting actual buy-ins on what we're saying, and the prospect's not just being agreeable and yesing to us to death, because that does not help us. Then they're going to insert reason why they feel like so. And it's like, all right, man, awesome. So based on everything you told me, I feel like there's no reason why what we do wouldn't work for you. So if you don't mind, I'll just walk you through what that would look like. And then we go into our pitch. Then we go into pitch here. Okay, so the way that we structure our pitch out is in 3 separate pillars. So if we go back to our discovery up here, where we found out all the juicy information that we needed to know from them about what they're actually struggling with specifically and what kind of help they'll need and what's been holding them back. Then what we do in each pillar is just plug in what they told us literally. So it's like in pillar one, it's like, all right, so I think you remember how you said you were struggling with, you know, accountability and you said you were having trouble holding yourself accountable. Well, that's pretty much, what we solve in the first month, and a lot of our students, struggle with the same exact thing. So we have John come in, and he's the coach that you guys do one-on-one calls with, and he checks in with you twice a week just to make sure that you're actually like holding yourself accountable, watching the modules, and getting to your goal, so we can get you to insert outcome. Does that make sense? Now they're going to be like, yeah, sure. If it doesn't make sense, the common sense there would be, you're an expert of your offer, you know how to explain it to them. Now, they'll say yes. And it's like, okay, but does that sound like it would be helpful? Yes. Okay, like why? Like what about it sounds like it would be helpful or why? What am I doing here? I'm avoiding that same thing that I am before of them just yesing me to death. I want them to buy in themselves that it sounds helpful and this makes perfect sense to them. So why at the end of the call when I go drop a price, when I say $7,000, $4,000, they don't try to give me crazy objections and say the program doesn't make sense and they don't see the value. Now, pillar two, same exact thing. It's like, all right, so remember how you said with XYZ program that they kind of did it this way and, it wasn't really helpful for you like that, just giant group calls and you didn't feel like the attention was there. Well, that's why in months 2, 3, and 4, we do X, Y, and Z to, overcome X, Y, and Z struggle so we can get you to outcome. And it's the same thing. We just repeat the process like, okay, does that make sense? Yes. Okay, does that sound like it would be helpful? Yes. And then pillar three, we go in and we repeat the same process. So usually, if you guys have a good offer that you're working on, or if you're a business owner, this applies to you too, if it's your offer as well, that your prospect sitting in front of you, if they're qualified, will have at least 3 of the same problems that will apply to each possible pillar that you could structure it into if they're qualified and if they're a good prospect, because it's usually similar problems. Like if I'm running a marketing agency, then usually they're not getting enough leads, or they're not getting qualified leads, or they're spending too much for their leads, or they get leads and they don't know what to do with them. Like it's usually one of those 4 things. It's not like some magical problem I've never heard before. And that's why this works. That's why this 3-pillar pitch part works. This is probably the easiest part to teach, but also one of the most important parts to nailing it down, because if you have a sloppy, not well put together pitch, it's just going to lower your status, especially depending on who you sell to. So if you sell B2C, you may be able to get away with it sometimes. If you're selling like some kind of B2B offer, you're definitely going to want to have a very clean pitch. And in some B2B offers, this might be a 2, 3, 4 call close where you might not get to this pitch here, but I would always, and 3 pillars might not always cut it, so you may need to have more than 3 pillars if there's a lot more that you do for them. But this is how I would structure it. The general idea is that I would take what they told me they're actually struggling with, and then I would plug it in on how my offer solves their specific unique situation. That's how I would always do it. Okay, so now we're in the objection handling phase. So the next steps is I'll just walk you through the tuition and then we'll get you onboarded and booked in for your first call. Sounds good? Yeah, sure. That sounds awesome. Okay, so the full tuition to get started is $7,000. How would you like to proceed? Now, before I even go over all the different ways this could go, because I am going to give you guys some prizes here and give you some examples of me handling these objections. But the reason that I do it like this is I want to make sure that they understand the full value first. So what I'm going to do at the end of pillar 3 is I'm going to say, all right, so pretty much before I go into the next steps and everything, like, do you feel like everything that I just walked you through can get you to goal, which is 10K a month, goal, which is losing 50 pounds, goal, which is lowering your electric bill? It doesn't matter what it is, plug in what you sell and plug in your industry. Now, once I get that buy-in, And I'm like, all right, well, besides some of the basic reasons that you mentioned, this, and that, like, why do you feel so? I want them to buy in some more on why they actually feel like it's going to help them get to their goals specifically. Then I'm going to go into, okay, the next steps is I'll just walk you through the tuition. Then we'll get you onboarded and booked in for your first call. Sounds good. So it's all very low pressure. It's still, I'm being more assertive here than I was in the beginning, and I'm definitely more serious and assertive, but it's still low pressure. It's like, man, we'll just go over the tuition, and if you show that the tuition scares you and that price tag scares you, then it's definitely going to scare the person that you're pitching, because you're going to pass that fear on to them. That's the last thing that you want to do. So now that they bought in that there's actual value here, now I will pitch them the price and be like, all right, so the full tuition to get started is $7,000. I mean, how would you like to proceed? Now, why do I ask, how would you like to proceed? Because what most reps do, this is back to the entitlement issue that I've talked about before. They think because they have a calendar, they have calls, they have a sales job, they're just entitled to get sales. So it's like the full tuition is $7,000. Oh, I need to go think about it. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, I'll talk to you next week, John. Just let me know when you speak with the wife. Like, that is going to work a very low percentage of the time. Like, way below 20% of the time. So, how would you like to proceed is actually putting, not pressure, but actually, throwing the ball. And I'm like, all right, so, like, how would you like to proceed? Like, how would you like to move forward? Now we get a real answer. They have to give us a real answer here. So, right, let me zoom out a little bit and show you the different ways that I broke this down into. Right now, I only did money, think about it, partner. Remind you, think about it is a smokescreen objection, so it's not a real objection. So a lot of times it's going to be money or fear or some kind of logistics. I'll show you guys how to break down logistics too. That's, should be fairly easy, right? Because it's your offer and you know the ins and outs of it. So if this is really a logistical problem, besides the logistical money, and it comes down to, oh, you said you guys do calls on Tuesdays and I can't do Tuesdays, then you will know the ways around that. That's just like kind of like a common sense solve most of the time. So let's say that they say, if they say let's go, boom, we won the sale, let's go. Now if they say, oh yeah, I mean that's just a lot of money, then it's like, all right, I totally understand, but money aside for a second, like, do you feel like what I just walked you through can get you to insert goal? Now, why do I always start any objection that I'm going to respond to with I totally understand? Now, yeah, like, that makes sense. You don't have to say I totally understand every time. You don't want to sound like a robot. But I'm going to say something along the lines of that every time, because I'm going to immediately disarm them. Because what are they used to? They're used to most salespeople trying to jump out the window back at them and be like, but John, if I could show you logically how this would make sense for you and save your business, $5 million a month, like, would you do it? And they go into this combative me versus you. Oh, you're missing the value. We don't want to do that. We want to act like we totally understand them. So, like, yeah, no, like, I totally understand, man. So, whew, immediately, their guard's going to go down. I'm going to disarm them. But, money aside for a second, now I'm really disarming them, because they're like, phew, the money aside, I didn't even want to think of the money. Do you feel like what I just walked you through can get you to goal? And they're like, yeah, I do. Okay. And ready, once again, I mean, like, why solo? Besides, you mentioned a couple of the reasons before, but, like, why do you feel like this would actually be the answer for you? Oh, because X, Y, and Z, insert X, Y, and Z reason. All right, so now we're here. So it seems like it's really just the funding that's stopping you from getting started. And what most of our students do is they use Klarna to break it up into, some more manageable chunks. Like, would you like to see if they'd approve you for that? So we want, we're normalizing this, that he may not have the logistical money to start right now, and that's perfectly fine. And we attach it to how most of our students are stuck in the same spot that he is. And what they do is they just use Klarna or Affirm to break it up into some more manageable chunks. Would you like to see if they get you approved for that? We don't want to promise him that he's going to get approved for that, because if we promise him that he's going to get approved and then he gets denied, like, he's going to feel really bad. We want to keep it like, yeah, I'm not sure if you get approved, man, but if you do, that would be awesome. If not, we'll just explore some more routes. We don't want to kill his confidence and kill the sale when he doesn't get approved for Klarna because we don't know what his credit score is. Even if he tells us, because he could be lying. And then let's say he says, yeah, sure. And then we get him approved, boom, we get the sale. Now, that's if they have Klarna. That's if your offer even allows you to do some kind of buy now, pay later, BNPL financing, because maybe your offer doesn't allow you to do that. So then we would go this way. This is just typical money, objection handling here. It's like, all right, so it sounds like you're pretty set on the program. You just don't have the credit or funds to get started. So, let's see, like how much do you have available in your checking to get started today? Oh, I have insert full amount. Oh, I have insert full amount. Okay, in savings? Nothing really. All right, so this is what I literally say as the owner of my actual program. Okay, so as a business owner, I don't think it would be the best choice to put every penny that you have into this program. But I also, feel that you would agree that doing nothing may not be the best choice. Yeah, I don't think it is. Usually at this point, I don't see people push back and fight back on this. They'll usually like submit here if you did everything else right up to this point. They're like, yeah, okay, so what we can do is work out a payment plan in-house. Then you go in, you offer them like a 2-pay, a 3-pay, whatever your offer allows you to. If you're the business owner, I'd say like 2-pays and 3-pays are usually best. Anything more than that, depending on how much your offer is, anything more than a 4-pay becomes a little bit ridiculous. Like, yeah, just pay me monthly for the next 12 months. Like, if you want to do something like that, rather than chasing down the payments yourself, I'd say probably like implement School or something where the payments are automatically recurring so you don't have to worry about that. Let's say they say, oh, I don't know because insert random excuse. Okay, so now we're going into like handling some kind of fear here, and then we handle the fear and we get to the sale. So I'm going to show you guys in a second how we can handle that fear. Or they'll say like, yeah, I could do the 2-pay. And then we go down and we get the sale. Either way, we'll get the sale here. Most of the time, if we do this right. Some of the time, we won't. You're not going to close everyone. So I'm going to go to think about it, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I'm going to handle this fear. Because think about it is usually going to boil down to money, logistics, fear, partner. There's something else behind that because that's not a real objection. It's really just a smokescreen. So, okay, I just need to think about it and I'll let you know. So we pitched them. We said, okay, it's 7,000 to move forward. How would you like to proceed? Yeah, man, that's not a problem. But before you go and think about it, I just want to confirm, like, do you feel like everything that I just walked you through will get you to your goal? Yes, I do, because XYZ, XYZ. Okay. And yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds like you want to do it, but it may just be a little bit, and I usually don't like to use this word, but fear coming up. Now, why do I say it like that? It's kind of like if you remember back in the beginning of this training where I said, like, what has stopped you from taking any action? I didn't want that to come off and send their ego wall up where they just become super egotistical and they're like, well, no, I'm not scared. Well, I have taken action. You just can't see. They're never going to do that. That's never happened to me when I said it like this. That's never happened to me when I said it like this. Like, not one time. But if I were to say, like, yeah, man, it just sounds like there's some kind of fear coming up. Okay, so people are like this. If you make it sound like it's something small, then they'll be like, no, it's way bigger. It is. It's a problem. I have a problem. Now, if we tell them, yeah, you have a problem, and there's all this fear coming up, then they're going to try to minimize it and be like, well, no, I'm not scared. I just don't know if I see the value and all this other stuff. So that's why I word it, and I'm going to put some tonality on it now. So it's like, yeah, man, that makes sense. It sounds like you want to do it. And I think it may just be like a little, I usually don't like to use this word, but fear coming up. Is that right? And it's like, yeah, it is. It's a pretty scary decision, blah, 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 blah. So what we do here is we're going to normalize that fear. So it's like, yeah, it's totally normal that you feel that. $7,000 is a nice size investment. And if you say you didn't feel anything, I'd be a little worried, honestly. I'd be worried. But can I give you a small suggestion? Yeah, sure. So I believe that you mentioned that the fear has been kind of holding you stuck where you're at right now. And do you feel like, it makes sense to continue to let that fear hold you in that place where I think you mentioned to me you're not so happy? Nah, Jay, it doesn't. It doesn't really make sense. This is usually what the word track looks like here when you have a qualified client with some kind of money to buy. Now, if somebody has no money to buy, you won't even get here. Or if they don't understand the value, like there are pieces that you won't get here. But in a situation where someone's qualified, you've explained the value well, they have the money to an extent. They may think it's a lot of money right now, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the money. So you're like, okay, I believe that you mentioned that fear's kind of been holding you stuck where you're at right now. And do you feel like it makes sense to continue to let fear hold you in that place where you've mentioned you're not so happy? No, it doesn't really make sense, Jay. All right, so why do it? It's that simple. Like I've seen people put like 30 words into some kind of crazy word track here, and I haven't seen it work any better than me just simply asking, "All right, so why do it?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, you're right, man. I kind of just need to let that go." And then we don't just dive in head first, like, okay, let's go, run the payment. Don't force it because then you might get some last minute pushback up from them. You want to be like, yeah, I get it, man. This is the hardest part. It's really just becoming the best version of yourself that takes action and takes risks. Now we can link it in with a personal story because hopefully we have taken action in our own lives. And if not, we're not going to have much conviction in this part of the sale. Let's say, dude, I was just like you, sitting in a chair, just like you, to buy a program that costs even more than this. So I know exactly how it is. And this is the hardest part. I get it. And that resonates really well right here. So we want to normalize what they're feeling. We don't want to make them feel like they're crazy and they're an idiot for not wanting to buy this and being scared and they're a wuss. We don't want to make them feel like that. That's not going to promote the sale. So it's like, all right, let's do it. And boom, we get the sale. So that is how I would handle fear. Now, think about it. Obviously, you can go a few different ways. If you guys want to see more help with that, then, you can book in a call with my team and get some more advanced help to see all the different ways that, we can handle. Think about it. But let's go back to the money here. So, okay, so here where I said handle fear with the money right here, that would be the same exact structure as I went here. So it's like, all right, so yeah, like, so that makes sense. Like, it sounds like you kind of want to do it, but, outside of the money, I feel like there may just be a little bit of fear coming up. And then we would go in and they'd tell us, yeah, it's a pretty scary decision. Oh, it's totally normal that you feel that. We would normalize it. Can we make a suggestion to them? Why do we do that? Why do you always hear me say this suggestion? Can I give you perspective? Can I challenge you? I don't always do that, but I do want to be careful. Don't just boom, jump in and give your idea and be like, start to create this me versus you. Like my thoughts are better than the prospects, because that's ultimately going to hurt the prospect's feelings, hurt their ego, and close them off more. And we don't want to do that. So that's, if you're wondering how to handle fear, I could have made a whole separate section. Say this goes straight into partner. This is the final objection here. So, I need to talk to my partner or spouse. Yeah, man, I understand. Now, your partner aside for a second, do you feel like what I just walked you through can get you to your goal? Yes, I do. Okay. And like, what about it? What do you feel like will get you there? Besides, some of the basic things that you told me earlier. So it's the same structure. It's the same structure. It's like, I get the objection. Objection aside, I'm going to place the objection aside. Do you see the value? Well, why is it valuable? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay, cool. Just the way we handle it after there for each objection is going to be just tweaked a little bit different. So it's like, all right. So I guess like if you feel like this would actually change your current situation and do XYZ for you and take you to the Bahamas and pay for the kids' college, everything that you're telling me, like, do you think that your partner would have a problem with you doing it? Now, let's say if they say, no, I don't, then it's like, all right, so why wait, man? And they're like, you're right, I shouldn't. And we go down, we get the sale. Now, that is in ideal scenario. Now, let's say that they say, oh, well, they may not want me to because insert excuse. And it's like, all right, yeah, like, I totally get it, man. Like, I understand. Like, can I make a small suggestion? Yeah, sure, Jay, go ahead. Has your partner made $20,000 a month off sales the way that you're looking to do? No, she hasn't. Has your partner Like, is she the owner of an ecom business that generates, you know, how much do you say? 6 figures a year in revenue? No, well, no, she's not. Oh, no, they haven't. Okay. So, I mean, let's say that they say no, right? Like, if you were walking a frozen lake, would you take the path with footsteps or no footsteps? The one with footsteps. And why would you do that? Well, because insert reason that they would. I don't know what reason they would, but common sense. I don't think anyone's going to answer the question and say, well, I would take the path with no footsteps because I'm adventurous and I want to, like, no. No, people are not dumb. They're going to be like, I would take the path with footsteps, Jay. And then whenever we give somebody a frame like that or an analogy like that, then it's just, okay, so what would be any different here from what we're solving here? Okay, so because it's proven and it's been done before. So in relation to your journey here, do you feel like it makes the most sense to, consult with your partner who's, never achieved what you want to achieve in the case that she says no? Well, not really, Jay. Let's say they go this way. And they're like, not really, Jay. Oh, I see what you're saying. And it's like, all right, so what do you think you should do as an action taker in your own situation and the one who's going to be liable for all your results and whether you actually get there or not? Oh, I take action and we get the sale. And we get the sale just like that. Now, that's if it goes our way. This will not always go your way. I'm not going to promise you that. This is what I believe is the best way to do it. But so what if they say, no, I don't know if they would because insert excuse, insert excuse. Okay, well, just so your partner, can understand who I am and what I do, when do you think is a time that they'd be available to get on a call together, the three of us? Insert time with them, and then they book on a follow-up. So, guys, that is the full course, and that is the full sales process and sales structure that I use on every single call. And with this same exact structure, I collected $32,000 last month in total commissions. And some of my best students are collecting over $25,000 a month using the same exact structure. So if you guys want some more extra help with this, go click the link below and book in a call with my team to see if you would qualify for getting some extra help. Thank you guys, and I'll see you soon.